I said it.
Yeah.
Damn it. You're just going to have to bleep it. You're going to have to bleep it out.
Yeah, we can't say that word. Actually, we can't even afford bleeps. So you're going to have to make a...
yeah, right.
See, Charles, you're going to have to make like your own bleep noise right now.
Yeah, right. Beep, beep. Yeah, well, I'll give you a couple.
Sarah, can I get
Fantastic.
a couple from you? A couple beeps from you, Sarah?
Bleep. Yeah.
Okay, now the three of us in harmony. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Beep. There we go. That's
All right,
pretty good.
Pretty good.
Please report to Gate 47.
Welcome to the Innsiders. My name is Sarah, and I have over a decade of experience in the hospitality industry, everything from budget motels to high-end boutiques. Each episode, me and my co-host Rob will bring you a detailed account from another insider from the hotel, hospitality, and tourism industries. In this episode, our guest is C. Charles. While in college, C. Charles took part in a program that filtered college students from around the country to work and stay at a theme park for low pay, with little supervision, and a lot of turkey legs. What could go wrong? C. Charles, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We understand you contacted us with some interesting stories about your time spent as an intern at, let's say, a very well-known resort. How long ago was this?
This mega corporation came to my college in 2000. I guess it was 2000. And they gave this huge pitch. They invited everybody. They had like people handing out flyers and like promoting it with pizza. So of course, like college kids are going to go. And like, I remember just sitting in this room. This is like a ballroom. There's at least 300 students, at least, if not more.
Let's call it what it is. This is a way for this big corporation, this big resort to get free labor.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. Not only
and they
that,
got you hook, line, and sinker with the pizza.
Oh yeah. Not only do you get free labor, but you get like college kids. This corporation is very image conscious. So they want to hire good looking young kids.
Is that what you tell yourself? Good looking young kid that you were.
Well, that's where they got me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I just want to set the tone here. You know, this wasn't something that you're getting an email for or a text message. This is the year 2000. So how did you hear about this pizza party? Was there flyers or posters on campus? How did you learn about it?
I think that they had done some chalk art on one of the sidewalks that I was going to class in. And I was like, oh shit, this very well-known corporation that shall not be named that I have a lot of childhood nostalgia about is going to be at the campus. And then it's like college program and free pizza. I'm like, all these things are like my favorite thing.
Yeah,
I love
100%.
all this stuff.
Yeah. You love nostalgia, pizza, and chalk art. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's
checking all the boxes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm like, of course, this is a no-brainer for me.
Easy person to shop for, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. They choose you out of the 300 because of how young and handsome you are. And then what?
No. You're missing some steps here.
Okay.
You're missing some steps. So what happens is, they do this massive presentation. They play this video, and the video is like, oh yeah, you could spend your summer or a semester working here, and it's going to be really great. All your peers are going to be there. It's like you get tickets to all the parks, you get a place to live, you get college credit. It's going to be like great. So you're like, oh, this is awesome. And like, if you're interested, tomorrow we're going to do interviews. And so I'm like, yeah, that sounds awesome.
This pitch meeting sounded an awful lot like the pre-screening interview for this podcast. It's like it's like, it's horrible. They get you and they pitch this thing to you and they just keep saying over and over again, you just show up tomorrow and we'll interview you. It's like, that sounds an awful lot like what we're doing right now.
Yeah. The pay's about the same too. So that's great.
Right. No pizza. What a ripoff.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no. and so then like the next day they had these interviews set up. So it was like, and you were scheduled an interview 2 people at a time. Because they just want to get like as many people in there as possible. And also, I'm sure that there's some weird psychology thing about it. So there's 2 people interviewing 2 people. I'm 19 years old, and they're like, so what's why do you want to do this? And I'm just like, I just love, this corporation. I have so many fond childhood memories. And then the person next to me is saying like the same thing. And they're going back and forth. They're like, oh yeah, you could work a variety of different jobs. You could work the showkeeping department. And they're like, and then they explain what showkeeping is. And showkeeping is the corporate language for janitor. So, so clearly they're trying to get people to be showkeepers. You go in there like, what job would you want? I would love to be on a ride. And they're like, oh, but what would you think about show keeping? Would you be willing to do show keeping? And I'm like, I don't know. And then the woman next to me, she's like, yeah, I'd be willing to do show keeping. And they're like, whoa, she said that she's willing to do it. So what about you? Are you sure that you're not willing to do it? And I'm like, I mean, because she is willing to do it and you're not willing. And I'm like, okay, fine, I'll do show keeping.
This is where this 2 on 2. She was by a plant.
Yeah, exactly.
Just there to force you into it.
Yeah. Honest to God, like we're going to such ends to not say the name of this place, but the more you're talking about it, we're going to get sued by Scientology. That's all this sounds like.
Yeah, right,
is that you're joining the Sea Org for a billion years or whatever. It's like, you sure you don't want to scrub the bottom of the boat? No, she wants to scrub the bottom of the boat. Totally.
Yeah.
This just sounds like this is like some weird, like, was Harvey Weinstein at this interview? It's like, you're she's going to do it. So, I mean,
may have designed
you
this
can have the job, but if you don't want the job, I know somebody who does.
Yeah.
So from the time that they are telling you, all right, you're in and you accept, at what point are you, on a plane? What's the time?
I think it was like maybe like 2 weeks after that. So I accepted, and then you get off the plane after like these 3 days of intense introduction to the company. They're like, all right. And so now you have this opportunity to do this college program for credit where it is 5 days a week. You have to be up at 8 a.m. business attire Monday through Friday for 3 hours before your shift. If you are late even one time, you automatically fail the course and you don't get any credit. And
oh my God.
Yeah. And so I was like, and I knew myself well enough to know that, like, one, I wasn't going to get up at 8 a.m. Monday through
college
Friday.
It is. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, there's no way I'm going to do that. So they're like, so they offered it to sign up for it. And I was like, I'm smart enough to know that is just a total trap. There was one person that I knew that was on the program with me that signed up for it. And I saw her walking like one morning, which, like, I was coming home at dawn and she was like walking to this thing in her business attire. And I was like, oof, there, but for the grace of God, go I. Like, I was just like, that would be just fucking awful.
Like, how long had you been here already at this point? So they fly you down to this resort. You're already working your shifts. But at some point, you're just like, I don't care. I'm going to go out all night. I'm a young, handsome guy, and I'm in college, and that's what we do.
So the place where they set you up to live is this place was called Vista Way. I bet there's like 50 buildings at least in Vista Way, and each one of them is like, this condo is a building that has at least 12 units in it. And each unit has 3 bedrooms. In every bedroom, they put 2 college students. So I'm going down there and I'm living in a room with 5 roommates in one unit. And there's 12 units in each building, and there's 50 buildings, and there's 2 of these resorts. So that's how many college kids that they have brought together from all over the nation. And they're like, oh yeah, if you don't want to wake up at 8 a.m., the only responsibility you have is to be on time to your shift at this very, very low responsibility job. And we're giving you just enough money to where you can't make any money, but you can also fucking get wasted on this amount of money pretty easily.
So by not choosing the 8 a.m., you were like, I'm not going to get the college credit. I'm just going to go for the money. Is that how it was?
Like, the whole thing, like, money was not my main motivator. My main motivator was just like, oh, this is going to be cool. It's a cool experience. I'm out here. I get to meet new people. I get to be at the parks and check everything out. That was my main motivator. Just want to have an adventure. So, and I was like, well, I mean, I'll be making money. That'll be good. But then you don't make any money because they pay you the legal minimum wage that they can pay you. So I think at the time it was like $7 an hour. You're working 40 hours a week. But then they're like, oh, by the way, because we're providing your housing, we're going to take 45% of your paycheck or every 2 weeks to cover the amount of housing that we're providing you with.
Oh my God. Yeah. And when you just mentioned the number of students that's there and they're taking all that money from each one of those students, they're making money on top of money. And you guys are, oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah. They're basically paying people, like, because the whole condos, I'm sure they just paid cash for. They have no overhead expense. The only reason they're charging is because they can it's easier for them to just be like, oh yeah, we can officially, we're only paying $4 and a nickel to pay for all of our.
I think this is still a thing.
Staff.
I think this, quote unquote internship is still a program. I'm pretty sure, but it would be interesting to see how it's different now.
Well, also, if they're still doing this and they're still charging all these college kids to stay down there on top of, not paying them anything but minimum wage, we should all probably start buying stock in this company because there's no way
they know what
they're going to lose any money this year or next year or the one after that. That's insane. That's some company store stuff. That's like, you know what I mean? Like that goes back to like the people in the coal mines who had to buy like dynamite from the company who made them go down into coal mines. They had to buy like their own tools and stuff like that. That's insane that's allowed.
So there's 5 students to a unit. You're all sharing a kitchen and a bathroom, I'm assuming. Is it co-ed or are you with a bunch of guys?
Each unit has 6 people, 1 kitchen, 2 bathrooms. One of the bedrooms has a bathroom in it, and then the other 2 rooms share 1 bathroom.
Yeah, but at 19, that's like awesome. Like I would be okay with that. At 19, I'd be like, this is great.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. But then like I had this one roommate where like I'm this little 19-year-old virgin kid from the suburbs. It's just like, I'm get to go work at this place. I'm so happy. And then there's one of my roommates. He literally had sex with a different woman every single night. And he would never wake me up.
Why would he wake you up? Like,
so he's in the room having sex
check this
with
out.
a woman, and I'm just sitting here like, and I'm like asleep, and then I wake up and I'm like, well, what the fuck? I have to just like, it was.
He's
so
doing
awkward.
this in your room. He's doing this in your room.
In my room, yeah. In my room.
Okay.
And I'm just like, this is so disgusting. I'm like, and every morning I'd wake up and I just plead with him. I'm like, please just wake me up. I will leave. 100%. You can have the entire room. I'll push the fucking beds, the 2 singles together for you. I'll sleep on the couch. Anything. I do not want to like wake up to you having sex every.
Are you still in touch with him? Is he still like? Does he still like putting on a show? Maybe he's got an OnlyFans or something.
Yeah, like I'm sure that his dick is completely rotted off at this point. Like, he was a disgusting man.
And that's what you went there for, to meet new people.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
Excellent.
We can't all be winners,
you had your adventure.
But we had one roommate, and he was like the weirdest person I've ever met in my entire life. Every single morning I'd wake up and he'd be in the living room, just sitting in a chair doing nothing. I'm like, hey, Chris, what are you doing? Nothing. Like, are you like reading? Did you have a paper? No. Like, did you eat breakfast? Yeah, I ate breakfast. What are you doing? Just hanging out. Like to nothing.
Oh
the
my
TV
God.
wasn't on. He was just sitting there. Like, and we're like, okay.
Any idea of his whereabouts?
He's still sitting there in that chair doing nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let me give you the main course of weirdness. Like,
please do.
He yawned with his mouth closed. I don't know how. I'm like, he would just be like sitting there and he'd be like, and I'm like, what's happening? What are you doing? He's like, I'm just yawning. I'm like, what? How do you do? Like, why are you doing it that way? He's like, no, that's just the way I do it.
Maybe he was like one of the animatronics that got out of Westworld.
Yeah, it could have been. He's like early Westworld, you know? He lasted for probably like until like almost the end of the program. But he got fired because he would go into the Hall of Leaders of the United States and just find a seat and just take a nap every day.
Nice.
Like he would never do any work. And that was the thing. Like you were completely unsupervised as a showkeeper. You just like walked around. No one's going to check your work because
they're not like weighing your dustpan
every
hour to make sure you're doing your job.
There's no quota how many pounds of cigarette butts you had to sweep up every day. So I'd have to clean up like vomit a lot. You'd have a walkie-talkie, and the walkie, they would never say like there's throw up or vomit. It'd always be like, hey, we got a protein spill over at the tea counter.
Way back in the day when I was going to college, I used to work at a video store. Now, for the kids listening, video stores, like Netflix, but, you know, like a library. But anyways, we used to have this video store, and it was a small independent chain, and it had a porno section in the back. Not even joking. One time I'm working there, it's middle of the day, and some woman comes in with like a toddler, and she went back in the porno section and was with her child, like in arm, which was already weird and strange enough, right? Like that already freaked me out that she went in there with her kid and like picked out a pornography video and brought it back out and checked it out and everything. So then later, like part of my job, if I have to go back there and put the return tapes back in the porno section. And I walked back in there like an hour later and there's a pile of vomit on the floor. The kid puked. Probably because he was looking around at porno boxes and had no business being back there. And he puked on the floor of the thing. And it was like this, it was like an old, like historic building. So it had like these old wood floors with like these deep grooves in the wood and stuff. And it was just all caked in there and it had been sitting there for like an hour, so coagulated and everything. And at first I didn't know what it was. And I'm in the porno section and I'm looking at this and I'm like thinking the worst. It wasn't the worst. And then I pieced it together that not only did this woman bring her kid to the video store in the middle of the day, in the middle of the week to rent a porno video, and took him back in there. The kid puked and she didn't say anything about it. Like she just checked out and left. Yeah. Right. And I was like work by myself. So like if I was not at the front desk, there was nobody there, but I had to obviously take time to like go clean this vomit up. I had to like get the mop bucket out and all this stuff and like get it, like try to get it out of like the grooves of the floor. You know what I mean? It was a disaster. And then there's like other like regular porno customers are coming in, they just walk into the back and then they would see me back there and get freaked out and they'd like leave. And it was just like, what's going on?
You're scrubbing. Like you're scrubbing, like your ass was shaking. Like, oh my God, that does it for me. I gotta go. I don't need to rent anything.
I no longer need a rental.
Right, pretty much. I was not getting paid enough for that. What was the weirdest thing that you ever ended up sweeping up at the park?
In the place, the futuristic land that I worked at, for some reason they sold turkey legs. The same thing that you buy at Renaissance fairs is also, I guess, the food of the future, according to this corporation. And so like the turkey legs are probably like one of the most disgusting foods that a human can eat, because one, like they weren't even turkey legs. Supposedly they're like emu legs, and it's just it's just all tendons. You get like one good bite, fucking tendons everywhere. So like,
and then they're just throwing them on the ground. Like these guests are just eating them and throwing the bones on the ground.
Yes,
for the showkeepers to sweep up. Oh, that's great.
Have you ever been around people on their vacation, especially when they have small kids? They don't give a fuck. They're just like anything. It would be a miracle if there was trash in the trash can, because honestly, people just don't care. God. They're just like throwing shit everywhere, and you're just like walking around like, well, this is my life,
Sweeping up turkey tendons.
So people buy these and they're sitting there and they're like eating them, and then there's seagulls around, and so they start feeding the seagulls part of these. And I don't know if you guys know this, but birds aren't supposed to eat birds, whatever size they are. And so like the seagulls are just like the longer they're around, they look less and less healthy, and they're just like they're not white, they're like gray, like their feathers are falling out, and they're just like sickly, but they're just like begging and like swooping in for all these turkey parts. And so like the worst thing that I saw there was one seagull that was so sick that it like developed like lesions on its body, where it was like, and it had like this hole in its neck. And so it like people would like, they're like, oh, it's like sick. So it would like feed them this.
Eat it even more.
And they would like eat it, and it's the whole neck would like, gobble it down, and then it would just like pop out of its neck, and it would just like have to eat it like 4 times before it went down. And I was just, oh my God, this is so disgusting.
Oh man.
I think that's our cold open right there.
Fantastic. Well, aside from guests being pigs and just throwing stuff on the ground because they're in vacation mode, did you ever have like a crazy interaction with one of the theme park goers or witness one?
They give you a bunch of tools. So like you have like this cards that if anybody has like a bad experience, you can write on the card, be like, you get 1 free t-shirt. And you get, oh, here, I'm so sorry that you lost your thing. Why don't you go to this gift shop and redeem this and you get a free t-shirt? And I mean, they're charging like $45 for t-shirts, even in like 2001, 2000.
So what do you like? They're giving each one of you kids like 10 of these cards to hand out in case you come across someone having a bad time?
I think they give you like 2 or 3 at a time. Besides like my pan and broom, I had this pouch that was full of maps. So if anybody's like, oh, do you have any questions? You can always pull out a map, give them a map. There's like those cards in there, safety instructions. I kept like a little like wedge thing that I could scrape gum off of things with in there. And yeah, for a long time, like I was supposed to give that back, but I stole that when I left. I don't know where it is, but I do have that. Maybe I can send you some pictures if I find it.
Of your gum wedge.
Yeah, my wedge.
Of all the things you could have stolen from there, you left with a gum wedge.
Things he left with a gum wedge and his virginity. Those are the two things he left that.
Virginity, not one of them. Yeah.
Now, this is a little hot tip for the episode here. If you ever find yourself on one of these amusement parks, approach one of these showkeeper types and ask them if they got one of these cards and just pay them $10 for a card and go get your $45 t-shirt. The bargain.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Because you're paying them more for that card than they make in an hour anyway, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I worked, there's a ride, a roller coaster in the dark. They are very, very strict. Like, do not put your hands up. Keep your hands in the cart at all times. But every roller coaster says that so people don't pay attention. And one guy was a taller guy, put his hands up, and he hit a track that was above it. And he was wearing a ring, his wedding ring. It got caught on the track and ripped off all the meat and everything off of his finger.
And then you fed it to the seagull.
And it came out of the hole in his neck.
It's probably the healthiest thing that seagull ate all day.
Holy hell. That's awful.
Yeah.
It's got to be kind of crazy. Everyone has their perception of that park, but you got to see the gritty underbelly, the behind the scenes. And does that kind of change your perception going forward about how you see places like that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And like one of the things that it was cool to see like everything back there, because it's just like everything that the guest sees is so amazingly curated
pristine
and designed for the best possible experience. But then once you go back to backstage, they just don't give a fuck. One of the things that happened while I was there, like they didn't have characters for like a full week or something like that. The whole thing got shut down because there was an outbreak of crabs in the characters' undergarments that they wore.
How does that happen?
Yeah. I'll tell you how it happens. His roommate likes to fuck. That's how that happens.
So they're done with their character shift. They're throwing their undergarments into a bin. And then I'm assuming they're not getting washed. And that's how these crabs were spreading.
All I know is that like for a week, like there was no characters. And it was because they had to like disinfect all the area, clean out like wherever their holding pens were, they got pubic lice somewhere. So they had to just like take it all down to, I'm sure they had like a hazmat team come in there and just
I can only imagine what they told the public during that time. Like, oh, we have everyone's sick or the costumes are out to the cleaners, but they would never ever disclose the real reason.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure they're just like, oh, this character will be back in 10 minutes. And then the people will come back and like, oh yeah, you just missed him. And then it's like, did this change that sign? I'm sure that's
deny, cover up. Yeah. Oh my God. That would definitely would change some perceptions of the park, knowing that their characters are seething with freaking crabs. That's amazing. I mean, this is 22 years ago. Have you been back like as a guest to that theme park?
Yeah. The very next semester back, I went to the theme park and my employee card still worked. So I did not have to pay to get into the park, which was pretty tight.
Nice.
You know why that worked that way? It's because one of the interns was in charge of turning
deactivating them.
That's what happened.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Insiders. It means the world to us. Are you a hotel, hospitality, or tourism industry insider with a story to share? Great. We want to hear from you. Go to theinsiders.com and click on Be Our Guest to submit your story for the chance to be our guest on an episode of the Insiders podcast. Once again, for more information, go to theinsiders.com.